And how's it going, everybody?
Doing pretty good.
Owen.
That's
Not
fun.
too bad.
Pretty exciting week. I've been balls to the wall. How about y'all?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm pretty stoked about all the changes about my new and improved joystick, of course.
Oh,
All right, guys, and we are live.
All right, welcome to Station 42. My name is Vadran Malik. I'll be your host today, along with my co-host.
Traz Ion. That guy with the fire extinguisher.
Who, him?
Burn, baby, burn. Hey, everybody, I'm Godric, Station 42's technical lead.
The fire may be out, but get your digs on. Today's sponsor, Soul Zen Tanning and Spa Cruise. Stars, the most natural form of beauty known to exist, the source of all life in the universe, the ultimate, peaceful, healing light of the body and mind. Experience inner peace and relaxation when you book with Soul Zen. With Soul Zen, you'll be enlightened by the power of the suns to give you the most natural and gentle tan you will ever experience in an atmosphere that will certainly leave you calm and relaxed. Our one-of-a-kind, closed solar proximity tanning liners are 100% guaranteed to leave you satisfied with the quality and peacefulness of your sessions 42% of the time. Complete your stay with us with a solar-heated sauna. Open the shutters to your soul. Let the stars and gamma radiation vaporize all of your troubles and excess body weight away. Soul Zen, where solar meets the soul.
Oh, boy.
That was beautiful.
Right, folks, come on down to Ectoplasm Space One rocket boots.
Additionally, our broadcast is supported in part by the Star Citizen Facebook community, aka Ready Player One, as well as the Star Citizen subreddit, Twitch, Twitter, and of course, my screen is moving.
I do like moving screens.
That happens. I love that. If you're a backer, if you want to be, or if you think you know a certain small furry mammal that wants to be a backer, just, come on in and have a sit down with us. We'll actually be willing to help you out with that.
So sit back and enjoy the slick astroglide of Station 42.
Dear Lord.
And of course,
You
writing
do that too
support
well.
delivered by Mr. Irv Nation. May he always shoot first. We happen to also still be out in regards to a skilled media ninja. So if any of you fortune seekers out there are seeking a venue to showcase your talents, give us a ping on the old Moby Glass.
Today, I'd like to introduce our special guest, Apollo, a fellow Star Citizen rocking logistics all the way from Israel. Apollo, how are you doing today?
Hello, hello. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Welcome, welcome, man. So it seems like we've had another week of crushing funding goals. Hurrah!
Wow.
When Star Citizen land. What is it now? 106 million surpassed. Pretty epic.
Yeah, too much money. I can't get my eyeballs wrapped around the. I don't know. It's just too much.
That's a good comment. Do you think it is too much? I know that you always have I mean, that usually gets folded into some of the negative commentary, but it doesn't make it any less valid. I mean, we're all backers here, and we all positively support the game. But is it too much? Do you think? It's a good discussion point.
It does too much. Go ahead.
No, I agree. It is a good discussion point. I mean, I've seen that topic, briefly pop up here and there. Is it too much? How much is too much? And I don't know. Frankly, um, the more there is, the better content we're going to have, the better, the longer the game is going to last. So no, I really don't think there ever can be too much.
Adding to the comment, though, if you think about it, most of the time those comments are directed towards the fact that 106 million, that's still not a guarantee of absolute success. So there's caution always with throwing that big of a number around.
It's true.
You know, you can't throw money at something. There's the wonderful place, I want to say, off the coast of America, called the Money Pit.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying, and I think you're totally correct on that. I mean, you're not going to solve a problem just by throwing money at it. And that's not even to say that I think everything is always unicorns and rainbows over at CIG. But I mean, just well, I mean, that's just have to be realistic. Things happen. There's no such thing as a perfect company or
Oh no,
perfect
no,
workplace or whatever. But just
they call
given
those
just
church.
looking at what we have seen so far, I don't know. I have no reason to be anything but utterly confident that we're going to get a super awesome game out of this.
Yeah, I could go with that. How about you, Apollo? What do you think?
Well, I think it's basically something that gives a lot of backers a sense of security. I mean, that number 106. I mean, you need to take a look at that from the perspective of a new backer when he looks at a project, when he looks at Star Citizen. And what he sees that, okay, we already uh, got $106 million. That means there are a lot of people who are really, really believing in the project and are willing to, donate money for the project. I think it's something that uh, helps Star Citizen to move forward. I think it's something that it's like a snowball. If anything, I mean, the more money you get, the more money you get. I don't know how to
Yeah, no.
describe it more than that. I think it's
Confidence.
I don't, yeah, yeah. It's just confidence. I don't think there's any bad uh repercussion to having that amount of money.
Right, right. And that's a really good perspective. I hadn't even thought about that angle at all. It nails it down pretty well. I mean, I guess for me, as long as they have a Unikitty, if the millions get us a Unikitty pink, space pony skin, I'll be happy because that's what Bootio Hunter wants, and I have to give her the pink skin for her spaceships.
Hello Kitty. All right, so 2 words, gentlemen. Vanguard. Well, okay, maybe one. Still, Vanguard. Say it. Speak it with me. Let it sink around in your head. Roll around on the tip of your tongue a little bit. Tastes good. You like it? Okay. Now, thoughts. Vanguard.
I love it.
Who doesn't?
My first initial thoughts when I first flew it was, wow, this is what I expected the Hornet to be like.
Really? Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so. I mean, the
But that was
maneuverability
just
though,
the first iteration.
they've patched it. So like apparently the patch that's live right now is bringing its speed maneuverability down more towards the intended. Um, do you think that that'll still hold true to like?
No, I don't think so. No,
Yeah.
that was just the first iteration. I mean, it turned on a dime, extremely maneuverable and deadly
Right.
as
That's true.
motherfucker, as Samuel Jackson would say.
Like the first episode of Co-op Vandal Swarm that I've flown in like a month and a half or so was I was randomly in my hangar and I got an invite from Vadrin and we actually got to play together for like all of like 12 waves before Arena Commander crashed on me. So yeah.
Yeah.
Vadrin, you got a little bit farther in that match than I did. What did you think of flying it? Because you
I
actually
I
had
honestly,
your
I think I had like Chuck Norris's tonsil in the back. Because I mean, it flew amazingly well. It was incredibly solid. I see good points and bad points. Of course, I want it to stay exactly the way it is right now because it's
Right.
scary to envision it slower. But the whole principle is that those 4 cannons, people haven't really. They were reading the forums and doing a lot of background work on it. I was looking at it and people were saying that those cannons, those 4 laser cannons, aren't going to hold up to snuff, and people don't expect them to be as powerful as they are. So you're three-shotting a Vandal Scythe.
Yeah,
So
an interesting thing was when we were flying, because you invited me in the hangar, I had just taken all of my Apocalypse Revenant cannons and thrown them on the Constellation, trying to get that to work in the persistent universe, which didn't work. But so when we launched into that game, I didn't have the Revenant. All I had were the 4 central line cannons, and my missiles were bugged, and I was still whooping ass with just those cannons, you know. So that might have been a little indicative.
yeah, you want to have a slower turn on a ship like that to balance it out, because if I'm three-shotting the known enemy ship, then it needs to honestly have a harder. It's supposed to be harder, more sluggish to try and.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that.
Now,
That
Vandal Swarm was bugged, right? Wasn't it too? Like,
well,
we weren't getting
sometimes.
any aggro though.
Here's what it is. No, it's not a non-aggro bug. It's basically whether you're in multiplayer, squad, or battle royale, or swarm is the Vanguard. There's a bug where the Vanguard at times will not show up on enemies' radar, whether those are real players or whether those are Vanduul AI.
Interesting.
So what you're seeing in Vandal Swarm is you're not showing up on the radar. They don't know, even when you shoot. Well, up until
When
the
you
very
shoot 'em,
moment that you start shooting at you, they don't even know you're there. When you start shooting at them, they take off, but they still can't target you.
it seems as if that you wake them up whenever you start shooting at them, so they actually become more reactive then. Yeah, I know that if you swing in front of them, they'll start firing at you real good.
Oh, okay. See,
Yeah.
I hadn't even seen that. I did see that they started moving once you started shooting at them, but I mean, of course, I exploited that. I just sat still in one spot and just shot them all down. Easy, Rick.
Hey, Apollo, have you flown it?
Yeah, I actually bought the Vanguard and flown it. Not a lot, a little bit.
What's your thoughts on it?
I think it's something that a lot of people who own it and a lot of people who want to own it think about, and that is the price tag. I
Good
think the
point.
price tag is something that
Mm.
I don't know, in my opinion, is quite expensive for what you're actually getting. Now, I'm not saying it's not a cool ship, it's not a really good ship, but when you consider the other alternatives in the store, $250 could
Yeah.
buy you a lot.
Yeah, that's true. It seems the Vanguard ought to be more on par with the Cutlass, so I'm kind of wondering what all is going to be thrown in to the
Well,
Vanguard to make it, a $250 ship.
yeah,
The
the thing is even though like the Cutlass and the like I've been flying the Cutlass and Crusader recently, and I've got it loaded up with the APOC on the top with the flash fire mount, and I've got 3 heavy size 3 cannons fixed on the front, so it hits really hard, and they're kind of similarly sized. But the thing is the Cutlass is flimsy. It falls apart if it
Yeah.
takes any kind of hits because it's supposed to be a Drake ship. You tile and blah blah blah, and it's got that extra cargo. But the Vanguard is much more robust. It's got heavier shields, heavier armor, all the redundant systems.
well,
I mean,
for
yeah,
for the $250 price tag, I think what they're secretly looking at is that death is going to be such a punishing thing. They said clearly about the life pod that's in the Warden specifically that your chance to survive an injection in that ship will be much greater than what it would be in a Sentinel or a Harbinger.
right.
So
Not only that, but you have the Warden has stasis / escape pods inside the escape pod,
right,
the escape box, supposedly.
So the idea is that it's basically you're allowed to go out and fight, and you're allowed to go out and fight a lot more with less chances of a nasty repercussion in a ship like that. So I think that's where
Right.
the value is that they're seeing that we're not getting it. We're not able to appreciate yet.
I can see that because Crusader changes a lot of things. People, are still trying to make arguments based on this ship versus this ship, based on the traditional, like you're in an arena where you're fighting and there's no option of escape. There's no straight line speed with super cruise. There's no, and now there's so many other factors that go into the equation, yeah.
Speaking of Crusader drama related to the current model supposedly being a lot of copy and paste. There's a lot of people buzzing around saying, "Hey, this isn't supposed to be. This is too much like this ship or too much of like that ship." My opinion is that we should give CIG a little bit of a break and say, "Hey, you're making this look like an Aegis ship." So,
Right.
that's my opinion. What's your thoughts on it, Apollo?
In terms of the design, I mean, it's very much an Aegis ship. I mean, it's when you look at that ship, the Saber and the Retaliator, it looks like, a bigger brother, a smaller brother, and a baby brother. All of them looks basically on the same uh, manufacturing line. I don't think it's bad. I think it's something that uh, the developers are trying to be really true to themselves and
Sure.
to brand and what is Aegis. Uh, yeah, I mean that's my point of view about the ship and Aegis in total.
Yeah,
Everybody knows FedEx trucks all look the same, and so do their airplanes. So I mean, there you go, white with the FedEx logo.
Well,
So
Yeah, I don't know. That's
Apollo,
kind of weird.
there was a thread on the forums where there was some mad butt hurt, and there was some pretty good documenting of like, hey, here's the problem. And I guess what it was that it was it's one thing to copy design elements from the other ships to make it look like an Aegis ship, but I guess the complaint was is that they pretty much changed the nose of a ship by basically taking the Saber's cockpit, and so now you just have this like triangle wedge on the front without the really aggressive lines that it used to have, and like the tail fin was kind of a little too large because it was and the funny thing was is like I guess I hadn't really looked at it that closely, and then after going back and looking at it, I can kind of see their points. But on the flip side of that, I mean, what's the line going to be? I mean, we want them to be able to push these ships out quicker so we have a playable game.
If you want to take a look at something to compare,
Right.
you need to take a look at the original Vanguard concept art with the Vanguard logo. It's that dark and that lightish brownish kind of backgrounded picture with the little guy on the center. Take a look at the little space guy, and take a look at the Vanguard. That Vanguard looks like you could just eat like 3 cutlasses for breakfast because it's so big. It is huge.
Right. They definitely changed the engine spokes to be a lot more, I guess, blocky now. They lost, and I don't know, like, but then again, CIG may not comment on it, but it could be that that could still be just kind of a temporary thing. Either that, or maybe when they actually white boxed it out to see where all those subcomponents were going to fit, they really needed that space. So it is what it is.
They did a lot of work with the wings, and honestly, if they would have kept the original size of that concept Vanguard, it would have been like the ejection pod would have been the size of a small mobile home. So, I mean,
well, I could live with that.
But
it ejects. You eject and it pops out with a Mustang.
With with a luxury cruiser. It's like it ejects 890s. There you go. No,
so I don't know. I mean, overall, what do you guys think, though? I mean, you like it, dislike it, thoughts, experiences?
The wings. My whole thing was that they had changed the wings up too significantly, and now they've fixed it. They were kind of bent and crooked, and now they're flush and straight, which looks more aerodynamic to me. But for landing on planets, the next question is going to be: does gravity kick in on those planets? And when it does, is there going to be all of a sudden new dynamics to landing, like wind speed, and is there going to be and obviously vector? Is there going to be you know, in some environments, do those wings actually help to land the ship?
Well, I think when it comes to atmospherics, a lot of that stuff is just, pretty at the moment. But, hand wavy 'em.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's going to be pretty for now, but I mean, that's the thing. Are they going to implement anything like that? Ah,
So the size 4 Apocalypse Revenant, the nose gun on the Vanguard. That's a pretty sweet, sexy gun there. What do you guys think of it? Apollo, you said you have flown the Vanguard, but kind of sounded like you didn't have a whole lot of you didn't spend a whole lot of time with it. If so, what do you think of that gun?
Uh, yeah, I didn't flown the ship much, but from my limited experience, I'm very happy with it. Although I expected it to be slightly more powerful, I expected to have a little bit more punch to it. Uh, I remember the mantises and you know the other like projectile type Vulcan type of gun, and I expected this one to be a lot more powerful. I don't know what you guys think.
No, I kind of agree with that actually. It seems I haven't done a 1-to-1 comparison, of course, yet, but it does seem more or less on par with the Mantis. It doesn't seem like a very powerful projectile gun. That said, I mean, it
Yeah.
is powerful, but not as powerful as
Yeah, in terms of the look, I mean, in terms of how it looks like and how they talked about it, you kind of got the sense that okay, it's a little bit of a game changer. When you look at it, it looks mean as fuck. I mean,
Right.
so you expect it to like
Yep.
destroy things.
One of the
and
things
that's
is
kind of
too
the
is like let's
question too.
look at this. Like, so a Super Hornet, you can have 3 size 3 weapons under the wings and under the nose if you're flying fixed, and then you can flash fire and throw the size 4 on the top, right? Well, if you're going to change out the 4 size 2s, so basically the you can have the size 4 Apocalypse Revenant on both the Super Hornet, the Cutlass, or the Vanguard. So we eliminate that from the equation, right? Speaking in terms of math. So now what you're looking at is 3 size 3s are the options that the Super Hornet and the Cutlass both share versus the Vanguard's 4 size 2s. 3 size 3s are stronger than 4 size 2s. If I remember how the change in difference of power, just like 1 size 3 is
75%
supposed to be
higher.
stronger than 2 size 2. So really you're getting shortchanged on a ship that's supposed to, if anything, be slower, or at least slower in maneuvering, but have that forward firing power that would make a Hornet cringe, even though the Hornet or the other ships might be able to outmaneuver it. So I kind of agree. I don't think the weapons are on par yet.
Well, the question is,
Even though they do hit hard and they're fun, and Vandal Swarm, where everything is like 20% hit points.
and that yeah, and that kind of mirrors what I'm thinking too. And what's in the back of my mind is, um, what is what is the role of the Vanguard supposed to be? I mean, we obviously know it's supposed to be literally the Vanguard, the ships that go in first, but um, it's pretty obvious to me that it's not going to be a dogfighter on par with, say, the Hornet or Interceptor or any of the other ships, but more of a heavy hitter. So I guess where I'm going with this is, it's not designed, um, I feel, for to go toe to toe with any of the other designated dogfighting ships, but more um, to go in first and take out, I don't know, turrets, of a capital ship. It's designed to go into
Maybe,
against
yeah.
capital ships, not
Well,
go
Let's
to
see if I
go
can.
dogfighters.
Let's see if I can
I-
wrap this all together. My opinion of the Warden was that it was meant to take out medium to large vessels, so things like your Freelancer, Cutlass, all the way up. So there's that. You have that gun with that gimbal on it, and so you're able to go in and take advantage of your range on at a larger vessel. that's going to be going a little bit slower. As you're going slower, you're going to be able to fire out in a longer distance. So you got 2,000 meters to basically make a kill shot. So
it's even longer than that. The range on it is like 5,000 plus.
Yeah, so you got so much extra time to go and try to make a kill on it. So they might duck that back in a little bit, and they probably will up the ammo, not the ammo, but the concentration of the firepower, the damage per second.
Or if they just narrow its cone, like its dispersion over a long range.
So my thoughts have always been that if you wanted to go and attack like a capital ship, you bring the Harbinger. If you wanted to go and actually lay out cover fire and cause disruption, you would pick the Sentinel. The trick with the Warden is if you think that you're going to go into a place where you could potentially die, and you don't mind getting in the thick of it, you pick the Warden, and the reason being is because you have that gun with that range, and if they get really close to you, then all of a sudden the 4 laser cannons become a viable option. The range is crazy, and the missiles aren't too bad on these ships, in my opinion. So it's just it's meant to be a bruiser. It's meant to go in and run in that configuration and just eat other ships up.
One last little tidbit I can throw in there too is, I mean, all subject to change, of course, but the super cruise speed on the Vanguard is absolutely astronomical. Like, all your other ships, even the faster ships, top out, in the 900s or a little bit over that. The Vanguard seems to be was like almost double that. It was insane. It just goes so fast. For those straight line fights, it can outrun, or it can make that. I mean, maybe that's supposed to be a simulation of down the road of having a longer range, but right now it's a faster straight line speed when you're not in SCM.
The flight tactics these days seem to are shifting. So what we've got is people are changing the new gear and new setups for some of the standard flights. What are you guys seeing out there?
Well, I don't know who else has been flying in Crusader. Paulo, have you played around with Crusader much at all?
Not really. Like I still have the issue with my new rig I'm waiting for,
Right.
so haven't really participated much recently.
All right.
Well, I can speak to it a little bit. I find that being able to rapidly shift between your standard SCM and Super Cruise is a huge game changer, because it doesn't matter if you're flying in a fast ship or a slow ship. I mean, you could be in an Aurora that barely puts along fighting against a fast ship, and you kick it up into Super Cruise. Maybe don't go all the way up to your maximum speed or anything, but you push it up to the 300-400 speed range. Kick it into decoupled, so that way Super Cruise isn't affecting your ability to spin and aim. And sure, you can't change your vector very quickly, but unless you're fighting in an asteroid field, you can still whip around, spend your energy strafing to dodge incoming fire and lay down your own return fire. And if you happen to be out in front of your target, drifting away from them, your munitions are traveling at has the additive speed of their travel speed towards you. So that basically means your munitions close the distance with the target much more rapidly, while their munitions that are firing towards you come at you in slow motion. So it's a very dominant fight position, and it's something that if you're in a slower ship or in a freighter, you can utilize against faster, more agile ships. I think it's one of those kinds of things that Connie pilots and freelancer pilots are going to need to leverage against those smaller fighters. Now, don't get me wrong, if the smaller fighter can outrange those bigger ships with a faster Super Cruise speed, basically what you have to do is you have to push up ahead of your target so that you're parallel or past them, match speeds ahead of them, and then basically trade to that more dominant position. It's almost like MMA fighting, just in space.
I was noticing a lot during the some of the Vandal swarm attacks that I was flying faster than the Vandal, and so some of what you're saying has a different meaning for me. I'll fly beside them, and I'll turn in, and I'll be flying away from them just ever so much, and I would shoot them, and my bullets would be going slower. So
Oh, because you're drifting away from them now.
I
Yeah.
would fly directly behind them to try and catch up with them, but then I'd nearly ram them, so I'd pick a side,
Yes.
and so I'm thinking that they've changed the speed on the scythe because they're going like 190.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. I'm still kind of pissed about the reduction in speed. It makes no sense that a glaive would fly faster than a scythe. The scythe weighs less. Why? And they have the same engines. Why would it fly slower? Anyways,
Yeah.
but I used to experience that back in the day when I flew a 350R as my primary fighter. It was such a fast ship that, you know, until you had really strong thrust control, you would just overshoot your target. You know, it took some extra handling.
Yeah, so I'm kind of seeing some of what you're talking about there with that, because since they've changed that speed, it's been really interesting. It's like a turkey shoot.
Yep. Have you guys played around with the Apocalypse cannon on any other ships?
I have not.
Not yet. Not yet. No.
I'm surprised, Godric. Man, your love of the Hornet demands that you fly the Apocalypse on the hood.
Yeah, that's actually very true. I'll probably do that tonight.
Well, you know, and the thing is, though, is my suggestion would be it depends on where you're flying. If you're flying in Arena Commander and you're killing the Vandal, go with the if you have a Constellation equivalent where you get the where you have access to the M6A cannon, toss that bad puppy up on there, because it's shorter range, but it's going to fire at the same kind of convergence as your other weapons of the same type. So you basically have one pip.
Okay.
Now, when you're in the persistent universe, I personally recommend hard ammo so you have that extra range.
Right. Yeah. Good points. Good points. Yeah, probably will try that tonight.
I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next topic. I was trying to address this one a little bit earlier. Everybody's changing tactics, and so the Omnis guys are no longer as viable, I understand.
I still think that if you want to have a little bit of long range, but you still want the unlimited nature of energy weapons and the hard hitting of a cannon, and you're okay with flying a more precision weapon, I think the Omnis are still clutch. But you know, even their range is like almost 3,000 meters, so it's the longest of the energy weapon ranges. I don't know. I think they're probably good weapons to fly on, like a Gladius, maybe. I don't know. They're just good. They're good weapons. They are. They're just not. You don't have to knife fight with them the way you do regular repeaters.
See, I happen to like repeaters a lot, and one of my configurations is to take 4 Bulldogs and actually, I want to say 6 Bulldogs on a Mustang Delta and just.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can do the Bulldogs if you're doing gimbals, but you can just upgrade to all Badgers and fly fixed.
Yeah, I could do that too. Either way, but it's a really, really fun and easy to fly configuration. It's something that people can just sit down and go, and so all 6 guns on top of a target. See, my son loves it.
Yeah, I heard that. He was all over it. How about you, Apollo? You have any favorite weapons for your combat configurations?
I love just using the mass drivers.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's another new weapon. Are you talking about the old school mass driver? Or are you talking about the new Apocalypse size 2 mass driver?
I think it's the old school mass drivers. I bought them in the beginning when I just started to fly in Arena Commander. I wanted to try it out, so I bought 2 of them. Yep. Always fun to use. That 60mm is just fun.
It is. I was face wrecking some folk with a pair of those on the Aurora LN on the top.
So I'm not really all that into the new stuff. I mean, what happened to those guns? Are they now the Apocalypse, or they're just same old mass
There's a,
drivers.
there's an alternative mass driver. So you have the old school mass driver, and then you have a new Apocalypse mass driver. So they're both size 2. I haven't flown the Apocalypse ones yet to make the comparison.
Mhm.
All right, so Travis tells me that you've got a new Star Citizen rig in the works. Can you share a little bit about it?
Yeah. At the beginning, I thought about buying a new rig desktop, but life is life, and I'll probably need to move to a different country. So buying a desktop is no longer an option. uh, I've had a few options on the table between on gaming laptops, yeah, so on between Asus ones and MSI. Decided in the end to go for an MSI. Yeah, simply because they offer, in my point of view, I've seen a lot of comparisons in performance, and the MSI is really gives you a return for your money. They have the new MSI Dominators. They come with GTX 980, 8 gigs. The new 6th generation of the i7s processors.
Nice.
All in all, a really good rig for about 2200.
Not bad.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you're going to travel, it makes sense. I mean, I've made, like, when I was in the military, I made the mistake the first time around of getting a really nice laptop, figuring I'd deploy all the time and I'd never have time or space. But then you find that a lot of times you're between deployments, between operations, whatnot. It's worth it to have that desktop system. But in your case, like we've talked about it offline, and I agree. I think you're on the right track with the gaming laptop, even if you're paying a premium for it, and you lose the upgradability. It's whatever.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely paying for the premium for it. But yeah, when you do not have any other choice, then you gotta just see what's out there. And my point of view, MSI really gives you the right stuff for the right amount of money, because laptops today can go really crazy. Some of them can go really big, almost can replace a desktop, but are coming with some really weird looking additions at the back, like really small, like boxes that you can carry. It's not for me. I'm looking for a new gaming rig that I can just, pack and leave and go to a different country with. And yeah, they just suit my needs, I think.
Right
What
on.
is your connection speeds like in Israel currently? Do you have any problems with pings? Any connection issues? Any server related problems?
Not at all. I mean, the connection here is fairly stable. You have a wide range of packages anywhere between 25 to 100. Yeah, it's very stable, fairly good. I'm usually when I usually play and connect to servers in Europe. I get a really good ping between 40 to 70, which is not bad.
No, that's really nice.
That's really good.
Especially for overseas. Hell yeah.
That's like you're right next to the server.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense actually. I mean, Israel would pretty much have the same infrastructure as any
Like
other
Japan or any of the other
as any
first
other
tier.
first world country. Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't have that Google Fiber and that gigabyte of connection yet, but we'll get there soon, I think.
Well, I mean, that's the funny thing, though. I mean, all these things are invented over here in the U.S., and yet um, Europe and Israel, for that matter, are the countries that roll it out eventually on a broad scale, so everybody in the country has it. Whereas here in the U.S., even 2 decades later, there are still areas where you don't have access to the
Dear Lord.
absolutely newest tech.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I just recently came back from the UK. I lived there for a few years. I lived in London, and you would think that in the middle of London, you will have the best internet and connection and stuff like that, but really, really not the case. I mean, in some areas, I got the most. Even if I was willing to pay money for better connection, you cannot because the infrastructure is not yet,
Interesting.
you know, to the standard. I mean, the best I could get is 16 gigs. Sorry, 16
Oh wow.
megabyte 16 megabyte package, which is bullshit.
What?
I'll take it.
And it's
I
funny, and
seriously
it's funny,
would.
and outside of London, you will have like really, like these small villages out of nowhere, and they will have the best fucking internet you can ever imagine. It's just funny. And in the middle of a city like London, you cannot have that. It's so weird, but so's life.
So, Apollo, I know we've talked about this before a little bit, about we both we love exploring. We want to be explorers in the verse. Um, what what do you envision um, in terms of exploring? Because I mean, right now we know that there's going to be research and data processing. There's going to getting data and that kind of thing. What's your vision? What do you think exploring is going to look like in the verse?
Um, well, I don't know how it will look like. I can tell you what I'm excited for and what I would like to see. Uh, I'm a very big sci-fi fan of movies such as Prometheus and Event Horizon and stuff like that. So I think that if they could incorporate exploration with a slight, I will say horror or you know stuff like that, it could
Yeah,
add some real depth to exploration and real excitement for it.
yeah,
Just go and find a derelict ship with I don't know what happened there. Not necessarily alien, but some kind of, I mean, shit happens in the outskirts of space. Some kind of mental, like mass mental stuff that happened to people. They lost their shit or something, and something happened, and you come in, and everything is in disarray, and you have to find out what happened, and you can have all kinds of very creepy situations, and yeah, that's what I'm really looking forward to. That's what I find interesting.
right. And that's yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking too. I mean, the operative keyword that you use there is depth. So, right now, what we know is, there's going to be the research and the data processing. Um, but that seems kind of dry and two-dimensional to me. I mean, I've said this before. I mean, I'm a huge fan of open world RPGs. I played a lot of Oblivion, and what I liked about that game specifically is the ability to just walk around and stumble over stuff that you can explore, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for in Star Citizen. Exactly right around along the lines, like you said, Prometheus, lost civilizations that you can gather knowledge about. Just have that in-depth experience. I mean, we kind of see in Crusader right now. We see you have that PI mission. I forget the name of the station where you go and
The
what
ICC probe and Kovalex hub, shipping hub.
Kovalex, yes, yes.
Yes.
Where you try to find out what happened to this guy, and that's kind of an inkling of what I hope, exploring is gonna be like, but just on obviously on a much larger scale. So you come across something, and that's going to spawn a whole chain of missions. You go out, you find a planet, you say, oh, what's this planet? Let me land there, and you find something, and then from there it just spawns this whole mission chain again, kind of like what we have seen in RPGs like Oblivion. What do you think? Do you think is that kind of what your vision is, what your hopes are, um, what we're going to see?
I hope so. In all regards, if you go and you stumble into, like, I was thinking specifically of Kovalek Shipping Hub whenever I thought of that question. And what it is it takes you through and it leads you on and it keeps you going and further and further and further into the scenario. So who's to say that it couldn't happen in for example, Hades, which is the first one that always comes to my mind when I think of exploration. It's one of the places I've got earmarked to go and take a look at.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know, like I do like I love what they started with Kovalex. I just really hope that the quest system, so to speak, isn't something where it's just point A to point B to point C to point D. I really I miss the old school MMOs of EverQuest, where literally some of these quests, like you may not even know how to start the quest, because figuring out how to get an NPC to give you the right starting line, to give you the right information, to give you the right sub item, and then you have to piece it together, the clues to the next part. It's not all just, oh look, you're automatically updated with flight information to your next point, and it turns into World of Warcraft, where you pretty much can use an auto quest plugin to chart your course, and all you are is along for the ride. I mean, that's not questing. That's just
let's try
farming.
something different. Let's tie something together here. Say exploration. So that everybody's on track here. Basically, we're talking about whether or not quest chains and mission chains can happen through exploration. So what I've always looked at was a game like Mega Man or Legend of Zelda. Yeah, you're limited in your options, but you can start with any single one of them. And any one is just as viable as the next one. And so you don't necessarily even have to be, there doesn't even have to be an ending to the quest. You're a mission. You might not even be aware that it's ended. That's the suspense holding kind of thing that I like. And they could go in and drop the other elements to it, the other triggers that make the next part of the chain happen, and that can happen randomly. Or it could be something more dynamic than just go to A, B, C, D, like you said earlier. Give me 1A, 1B, 1C, and let me figure out what direction or path I actually want to go with this. Give my character more dynamic options, which is what they said Squadron 42 was going to be like. Your path, your options, and your choices are going to actually weigh into the scenarios, and it's going to actually make it more viable and have more feeling, more invested interest. That's about all the time we have for the show today, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and say thank you, Apollo, for hopping on the show with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's been great having you on.
We're going to go ahead and do the very, very last section. This is Rapid Fire 5 for the player. Are you ready, Apollo?
I'm ready.
All right. Keyboard and mouse and HOTAS.
Keyboard and mouse.
Favorite flyable ship?
I'll have to say the Vanguard at the moment.
Favorite future ship?
Very excited for the Orion mining ship.
There you go. He did it again. Ballistic or energy weapons? Maybe something else?
Ballistic.
Craziest thing that you want to pull off after game launch?
Really, really hope that they will have on planet racing, like Star Wars.
Pod racing.
Yeah, pod racing, exactly.
All right. Those wonderful answers. Thanks again for coming on and spending time with us. All right, you fine folks. Trav, you want to take it out?
Sure, man. Hey, thanks everybody for spending your hard-earned listening time with us. If you liked our show, be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave us any feedback in the comments below.
And if you like any of the intro and outro music of today's episode or any future episode, please just check back with us. We'll be happy to share a link with you and let you download anything that you want. Thanks,
That's
everybody.
always sexy.
We will see you next week.
Boom.
Bye.
We have a 138 in progress.
This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now.